We're calling the meeting to order. I have 5:59, but I bet that clock is different.
It
oh,
is.
6:02.
Mine
Okay.
says 5:59.
And I was thinking it was 5:59 too, but we're gonna, at 6:02. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We got some new faces and some old faces.
Josh being the new face.
Yes, that's it. We haven't seen him in a while. Is there any public comment? Hi, Lynn. All right. Student reports. Before you start. So this is your last meeting. Josh, Emily, thank you. As soon as I thank you. You guys have been great. And I don't know, we went to a board thing a little while ago. I'm going to get in front of it. And one of the topics was getting students interested in the board. And so there are boards across this state that don't have you guys. And I just felt so proud to know that we have this, it's already established, that it's well done, and you guys have made a lot of difference. And we thank you a great deal.
Thank you, guys.
We have one more signature to go. But,
That's okay.
thank you.
It's
And I
official.
think the board should go around. And good luck to you. Where are you going, Emily? I know. Wait, did you do the Merchant Marines, Josh?
No, I actually have a full ride to Castleton.
Nice. Congratulations. My son went and he loved it.
Yeah.
It was like slipping on a fine Italian shoe. It was really good. How about you, Emily?
I'm headed to George Washington University.
Nice. Wow.
I actually fly down to orientation a few days after graduation.
Wow.
Excited.
Very exciting. That's awesome. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so for our board report, I will do we'll get the senior stuff out of the way because that's been what's on the front of my mind, it seems all the time now. So our project grad plan is finalized, and from 9 o'clock, so graduation will be Friday, June 10th, in the high school gym at 6. And afterwards, students will have time to go home, change, see family members, and then they'll be coming back here at 9 o'clock. We're going to have a kind of a campfire cookout, and then we're going to load everybody up on buses and going up to Get Air up in Williston, which is the new trampoline park that just got put in this spring.
Nice.
We have the whole place rented out for 2.5 hours, so it'll be really exciting. And then we're heading to Spare Time, which is it's a bowling alley, but they also have other kind of fun activities going on, and we have the whole place to ourselves as well there. And then when we come back here in the morning, which will be early, the parent group for our class has been really, really great, and they're going to have breakfast ready for us when we get back. So we're really excited about that. We sent out letters about a month ago to community or businesses in the community, all the way from Vergennes, even up into some local businesses in Chittenden County, and asking for money or donations for Project Grad. And I think we sent out a total of 70 letters, and in 2 weeks we got $1,700.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a big deal. We're putting that money towards prizes for Project Grad, so that was really exciting. The senior class will be doing our service trip to Camp Tecumseh on May 19th. Lee Shorey is in charge of that and does a wonderful job every year. We're going to be doing a lot of grounds work at the camp, preparing it for kids that will be visiting this summer. And everybody's chipping in. It isn't mandatory, but a lot of classmates have shown interest in going. May 2nd was our Accepted Students Day, and kids wore either apparel from the college that they'll be attending next year, or kind of to demonstrate the plans that they have after graduation. If it's the military, we have a few students traveling abroad and taking a year off. And we're not going to have a senior cookout this year. However, we're going to have that big cookout for Project Grad, which will be kind of a compensation for that. Also the VUHS seniors Emma Gardner and Lathrop Brownell were in the semifinal round, There was a German music video contest that they entered. I think it was a Tyler Capes as well about a month ago. And they put together a really neat music video, and it went all the way, I think, to the...
They're in the top
Nationals.
5.
Yeah.
It goes to the singer of the music that they put their video to will now pick the winner out of the 5, and then if you win, they go to a year in Germany, I think, or something.
They get
No.
tickets to a concert.
Yeah, to
In Germany.
I think
Okay.
a trip there.
Emma will be
A
spending
trip
a year
there.
in Germany next year anyway. But yeah,
They
so
pay
that's
for that.
that's a pretty big deal, especially for 3 high school
But not a
students
year.
and just a camera and a computer. They did a really nice job. I believe you can find it online. Yeah, on YouTube. All right, you guys go.
If I wanted to find it, how would I find it?
If you go to the VUHS blog on the homepage, it's posted on there.
So I'll probably give my last sports report. So boys lax had a game in Randolph this Saturday. So this was from the 27th, so it was past Saturday, which is their 3rd of the season. They're actually having a pretty good year this year. Tyler Crangshaw, the senior, scored his 100th career goal already, which equivalents to like 1,000 points in basketball or 100 wins in wrestling. So it's a big mark. The second guy on the team with the most goals is 27 for his career. So yeah, Tyler's a big part of the lax team for sure.
Tyler has also played in outside of just Vergennes.
He played for
lacrosse.
Vermont V-Tribe Lax, so it's the whole state of Vermont plays.
Yeah.
He also just made the Vermont New Hampshire hockey team.
Yeah.
So it's his 3rd extra game, I think. How to say it.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like the North-South game for basketball, but this is Vermont New Hampshire. Baseball and softball. Baseball's not doing so hot. 1-7. Yeah, it's not the way we expected, that's for sure. We compete with the D1 tools that we're playing against, like St. Johnsbury, the D1 powerhouse. Hunter threw a 1-hitter. We still lost. So we've had a couple of heartbreaking moments, but softball's doing really well. Tamara has I think she has 4 home runs this year, so she has a really good year.
Tamara Onchman,
yeah, sorry. Rowing started a week before vacation. That's good.
So all of the spring sports are going now.
Yeah. And then the AAU basketball tournament was this past weekend here, which the Booster Club they have the concession stands open, and they did a great job again. So.
Sure, yeah. So music right now is really picking up. We have marching season especially is coming up right now. So we will be marching the Vergennes High School Band and middle school. I think and middle school will be marching in the Essex Memorial Day Parade and then the Vergennes Memorial Day Parade. You can come out and see us. We sent 3 students to all states this past weekend. I attended Nora Hubbard and Kira DeGento. Emma Gardner is on the list, but she made it and chose not to attend. We also have our annual Pops concert where we do all of our fun music coming up on June 1st. And lastly, students went to New York City as just kind of a culture immersion trip for a few days before vacation. So far, as you might know, we've been raising money for polycystic kidney disease. That's been our kind of goal for this year. And we've raised over $6,000. Haley Cray is spearheading that, which is really fantastic. Some members, I think, after the last board meeting, attended the Relay for Life in March or early April.
It was in March. It was a Nordic style Relay for Life. And we're still on the fence as to whether or not we're going to participate in the one that's right after graduation. It's up at the Champlain Fairgrounds. Yeah, I need to think of the name. But it just is a lot of people are leaving right after school ends, so we're going to see if we have enough people to pull it off. Either way, we're going to raise the money for it. So.
All right, for my first board report, in terms of academics, there are about less than 4 weeks of school left, which is actually pretty exciting. We're nearing the end of the year. Final exams are coming up. Students are going to be excited about those.
Lying at your first board meeting. I don't know.
This doesn't bode well for your membership.
You're doing really good for being a politician, though.
3 grades and honors have been released in the papers. I know my grandmother always checks the paper to see if I'm an honor, so you check the newspaper to see that. And this year, seniors will actually have the same final exam schedule as all high school students, unlike the past few years. 9th, 10th, 11th will share their senior schedule. An important event that's happening this Thursday is a half day, and students will be giving their PLP presentations, which has to do with the new implemented PBGR standards that all students have to follow for a better pathway to college and kind of new way of organizing our portfolio. And juniors also take kneecaps in the month of May. I'm not
Next
really-
week.
next week. Do you want me to just?
Yeah,
All right, so, with extra, students just returned from Germany. I wouldn't say just returned now, but about 4 weeks ago. 2 weeks. They returned from Germany, where they were gone for quite a long time. I think it was 2 weeks in general. Senior privileges, I'm not sure.
Yeah, senior
Yeah.
privileges have been, I mean, Ms. Taylor can attest to this, have been going great. I think our class is loving it, especially now in the last few weeks of school and the weather's nice, being able to go home for lunch.
Awesome.
Prom is 14th of May, which is this Saturday.
Someone's
excited.
That's River's Edge Campground. Also, there's a blood drive this Wednesday, May 11th at 7 a.m., not 7 p.m. Sophomores also finished a fundraiser with the establishment Cookie Love in Ferrisburg. We sold a cookie dough to our students, and we raised about $250 to $300 in that zone. So it's quite a success. There's also a tractor safety course from May 3rd to May 19th, and they meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Students would understand how to safely drive a tractor and learn the basics and other things like that. Students returned from Washington, D.C. trip. I was on that trip with Miss Stepp and Miss Taylor. It was pretty fun. We got to see all the sites and even went in the White House in Washington, D.C. VUHS students attended a Vermont Youth Climate Rally outside of the Montpelier State House, standing up for climate change standing against climate change, and finding solutions to such events. And there is an SAT prep course that is available this summer at VUHS through Fusion, the after-school program. There is a $220 fee, but it probably will be worth it because of the experience that it gives the taker. Also, something different that I wanted to bring to the meeting through my personal administration is I wanted to implement student thought into the board. So what I did is I asked students around the whole school, not just 10th grade, but middle school, 9th grade, 10th grade, how they feel their school experience is going and what issues can be brought up. There were about 5 different topics that were brought up. The first was middle school spark separation. Many kids don't really want to be separated with Spark. They feel like they want to have their friends in the same group as them. I'm not really sure how. I'm not in middle school, so I'm not really dealing with that. Also, easier gym accessibility. Some students were complaining because they can't really access the gym freely. I know Mr. Stetzel deals with that on a daily basis. More important issue, I guess, is lunch prices. Some students were talking about how lunch prices are kind of hurting them, and how they think that smaller prices can somehow help them through their academic career. Also, many middle school students requested a lifting of the ban on energy drinks. I'm not really sure what that's. And finally, one student contacted me to address cyberbullying, and I think that's really important because these days it's pretty easy to just go on your phone and send a message without thinking about it. And I know Mr. Stetzel and Ms. Taylor sent out a video in morning meeting about some app. I forgot what it's called.
It's called Rethink.
Oh, Rethink. Where you can,
Designed by a student, actually.
yeah, where you can rethink something before you actually send it.
It sends you a quick message before you can send your message. It says, do you really want to send this? And just makes you hopefully think and then decide maybe not to send it. It shouldn't be sent.
And also on another note that Josh and I, because we both attended Girls State and Boys State respectively last year, candidates have been selected. There will be 3 girls attending Girls State this year.
Three
It's
girls.
actually
Three girls.
6.
Six.
The three
Yeah.
girls from Vergennes got accepted, like 3 girls from Vergennes, and then another region, I believe, picked up the 3 alternates.
Okay, so everybody that applied to Girls State for Girls is going this year, which is great. That's awesome. The more bodies that are there, it was a wonderful experience. Yeah, I went last year. So that takes place the following week after school is over. Last year I actually missed the last few days of school, which is great. This year we're getting out early, that won't happen. And Boys State.
I have to give up my Attorney General post, so pass it on.
But anyway, Josh and I wanted to thank you guys too
Yeah.
for 2 really neat years and wonderful experiences. And I think both of us can say that by being members, or not members, but representatives on the board, we've gained a lot of knowledge and perspective and understanding of how our school is not only run, but the people that are responsible for keeping it together. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for us.
And I forgot to welcome Mason. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Principal, Superintendent.
So my incidental report stands, but in addition to that, I received a letter today that I'd like to share with the board. It's kind of a fun letter. It comes from a gentleman from California, from Stockton, California. His name is Lowell Jorg, and he writes, "Good morning. I sure hope this letter brightens your day. I was at an antique shop here and found this old circa 1915 picture card of your beautiful school. It's in pristine condition. It's an old classic for sure, so I thought to myself, by golly, I'll send it back home where it can be appreciated. Our heritage is important to all of us. Lots of changes too over the years, I suppose. Enlarge and posted up, it will make for some nice conversation. Well, I gave $6 for it, so if you want it for $7 or $8 or so, why, that's sure okay with me. Throw it in a little postage if you want to as well. My wife is laughing at me and says, if I hear from you, I will have to take her to lunch. I am 87 years old and still going strong. I like to call my little hobby a redistribution of happiness. Our world sure needs it. Thank you, Godspeed in your work, and isn't it nice, spring is being sprung with all of its beauty. Sincerely, Lowell Jorg." So I think I'm going to be writing Lowell back. I will be enclosing a $10 bill. And I will be thanking him very much for sending us a little piece of Vergennes Junior High School.
We could take up a little collection for Lowell.
Life's simple pleasures.
Yes, so true. Is it on the back, Tom? I'm not quite sure if we know where, but that is the old high school. It's on the, it was on the property of the fire station. Right. No
It
longer-
actually sat where the district office used to be.
Okay, because the fire station is where the auditorium was.
That's right.
Okay.
Did you graduate from that one?
No, but I attended that several times. I went there for first grade and second grade, and then we had the new elementary school. And then after I got out of sixth grade, I went back there for 4 years, and then I came here for the last 2.
That's cool.
So
Wow.
I made
Had
the
Mel's not
circuit,
here.
and I went to kindergarten in the basement of the library.
Wow.
So it's, yeah. If I may, in your report, there's a lot of people leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised, wow.
Just like, we haven't done any board training, but I'd just like to remind folks that I send the report out ahead of time to be read, so I can answer questions. And I'm happy to answer any questions tonight.
Those people are all voluntarily leaving?
Yes, yes, oh, yes. Well, George, what else would it be?
Well, I mean, there's been in our budget some reductions, and so
Right, no.
I didn't know whether some of these people might have been
All
caught
by
by part of
choice.
that. That's, of course, coming from Ferrisburg, this really hit me hard. I see there's 5 from Ferrisburg. That's enough in a school that size to reshape the way the school runs. I'm sure that you're aware of that and working on it.
Thank you.
I just want to name that Lee Shorey is retiring. Wow. She's been a staple around here a long, long time.
She sure has.
Long, long time.
My guess is, though, we'll find something for Lee to do.
Retiring doesn't mean you're not gonna see her around.
No, okay.
Around.
That's right.
Well, if you would pass on, Stephanie, that just specifically to Lee, I think it's great how long she's been here. Thank you for her service. And come back soon. Okay.
So how many people are we looking to hire at this point in time across the district? Is there,
Well, we hired 3 principals.
yeah, I
So
did see that.
That's
yeah.
one right off the bat. And as you can see, we're in the process of hiring a couple of different positions at the high school.
saw
Under
that,
Stephanie's
yeah.
report. We also have music at Ferrisburg that we're hiring for, as well as, no, we have a music teacher in Addison. We'll have a PE teacher. You see some of the positions there to hire. So I think it's fair to say most of these are part-time positions, other than the principals and the paraeducators. I really can't respond to that because I don't know what Kara's plan is.
Yeah.
As you know, in this last year, we were looking to hire professional staff when we had retirements for paras, and I think that we're good with our professional staff, so I'm not quite sure if they'll be replaced or not.
Is the Addison principal, was that an internal hire, or is that someone from outside? 'Cause this
His
is-
name is Travis Park, and did you get I guess I must have notified the Addison board. I did not,
Yeah, it's not
is his
directly
name on
though.
Yeah.
It's on your
his
report.
name is on here.
Yep.
But I just wondered if it was someone from outside the district, or if.
It is someone from outside the district. He is currently a teacher at the Bristol Elementary School.
And it's a full-time position.
It is a full-time position. The board decided to make it full-time to help the new principal make the transition.
Yeah. And then the last thing about, there was a meeting was canceled for the V-High insurance plans that the teachers were gonna?
Yes, the
present out?
teachers had scheduled it, and I had opened it up to board members and administrators, and that needs to be rescheduled. I believe that what was going to be presented is probably similar to the ones that you've been signing up for, and
Okay,
I will continue to keep you in the loop when we reschedule that.
great. Thank you. Any other questions for Joanne? All right, Stephanie. Stephanie's report.
Yeah, I must have been multitasking. I meant to make mention of the hiring practices under the section on hiring, and I tacked it onto the section on supervision evaluation, which doesn't make any sense, but it's an attachment anyways, so another document, but I don't know why, I don't know how it got stuck there on that blurb, so I apologize.
But it's there.
Yeah.
Is this new, Stephanie? The hiring guidelines?
They're procedures that I put in place when I started here.
Awesome. Great.
And, we tweak them depending on the search, but those are the general guidelines we try to follow. It's something I developed at U32.
They're aligned to the district procedures as well. We're not operating under different sets of rules.
Sorry.
Okay.
I do have a question about the 17 teachers for formal evaluations. Can you expand on that?
In what way, George?
Well, does 17 meet the new teacher, all of them, plus 1/3 of the others? And what was the outcome? I mean, I'm not asking individual teachers, but
Right.
what was the overall feeling of the
So,
evaluation?
could I give some guidelines before Stephanie responds? We can't give details, obviously, but we do get information that helps us plan our professional development days. And as I mentioned in my report, there were some things that came about that we're now going to use when we plan out professional development for our teachers. So you do get to see trends and patterns. We can't mention whether teachers have difficulty or not, and we can't tell you about the ratings, but we can certainly tell you what we've learned and what we've observed by working with our teachers.
Well, I indicated most teachers we view it as a collaborative process, basically. I want to know what teachers want to work on in their own practice, basically. So I might ask what is it you're trying to establish in your classroom? So I'm an extra set of eyes in the classroom. I can keep an eye on, whether the majority of the questions are of high quality, or if all students are engaged, or if the agenda and the lesson plan is aligned, whether the assessment, perhaps formative assessment, an exit ticket at the end matches what the learning target was, some of those sorts of things. And then we have a conversation about it. There's a rubric. I script the class that I observe, and then I align it to the areas of the rubric. So I think there were 5 new teachers that had 3 observations, and then a number of other teachers that had 2. So I'd have to look at the distribution, but so 17 teachers were basically had a series of.
But that seems like less than 1/3.
So what's the question?
Oh.
It probably is around 1/3 because of the way in which teachers are in cycles. I want to make sure that this is doable. And so I think 17's a lot myself.
Okay.
10 is about average to do a really good job because you're spending at least 5 hours or more with each of the teachers on evaluations.
I understand that side of it. It's just that if you've got new teachers and you're doing every new teacher for the first 2 years, and then all of the rest of the teachers you're doing 1/3, so that in a 3-year cycle, you're evaluating everybody.
Right.
It just seems like with the new teacher added in there, that the total of 17 doesn't make 1/3 of all the other teachers. Am I looking at this wrong?
You are, because we're just starting this process.
Okay.
And so we were very selective this year in terms of who was going to start in on what part of the cycle. And we'll be picking this up as we systematize it.
Okay.
Everyone will be on the 3-year cycle within 2 more years.
Okay.
And that's 51 total teachers.
Okay.
17 times 3, so it's probably pretty close, because special educators, Kara supervises them. Sometimes we share the supervision and evaluation of them.
Kara might do one, and we'll do another. For a new.
So it's probably pretty close to
Yeah.
1/3.
Okay.
How do you deal with that, when you have teachers who are, at various level of part-time, or?
Sometimes we prorate the number of, we had some teachers that left mid-year, so, we might have just done 1 or 2 and then not done the 3rd. One teacher only taught first semester, not second semester, so, we make adjustments to that and squeeze it in. A part-time teacher has the same impact on the students they see, but it's just, sometimes it's harder to fit it in, given their schedule.
What are the consequences of bad evaluation? And I don't want any details, I'm curious.
A review
how
process, some support, and different districts call it different. I refer to it as focused assistance, but we'll do an improvement plan depending on what areas the assistance needs to be in. Sometimes the teacher would be set up with a mentor. We'd do an improvement plan. We'd work on it. They'd get some more support from me and from a colleague, or even someone from outside the school to work with that teacher. After a series of evaluations and cycles, we'd want to see improvement, or we perhaps coach that teacher to select another career.
Is the evaluation only coming through you, or does the chair of the department also write and evaluate? Like, there would be a different kind of a thing, and student evaluations.
In Vermont, you need the principal's endorsement
Okay.
for supervision and evaluation.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that a colleague can't mentor
Right.
or coach.
Right.
If someone gets a less than satisfactory evaluation, do they get bumped up in the queue so that instead of waiting 3 years?
At any time in the process, George, if something comes about that's in need of attention, the principal can address it. We call it an individual growth plan, but there could be a time where it becomes an improvement plan. And an improvement plan means a much more tightly recognized observation and feedback loop, so that we can ensure as much as possible growth. And then there's certainly the step that if that does not happen, we move in another direction.
Thank you.
So one last question. When you talk about the 10 hours per teacher, which is a lot of time, are you hoping that'll
I don't think it's 10. I think I said 5 or 6.
I was just going by
the paper.
Oh, okay, all right.
I said 10, because that's what it
It's supposed to be more
averages.
like 5.
No.
Are you hoping that it gets closer to the 5
Yes.
after you've done this? Okay.
Well, I mean, so 2 observations, that's 2 77-minute blocks.
Right.
So right there is more than 2 hours, and then a pre and a post meeting for each one of those, which is anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, plus the time that we spend writing the evaluation and aligning the rubric. So it is.
It's a lot.
I'd like it to be more than 5, more like 5.
Yeah.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I suspect that the teachers haven't been evaluated on a regular basis over past years, and I'm wondering how they're taking it.
Every teacher I've worked with has appreciated the process, and I think Jay could say the same thing. It's an opportunity to have a dialogue about what they enjoy doing and want to do well, and it's about student learning. So I don't think it's been a bad process for anybody.
And they do a self-evaluation.
They do. That's part of the final process, is a self-evaluation.
And so
Well, they do, it's a part of the initial process on the whole rubric, and then they do a self-evaluation on domain 4, which is professional knowledge.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Christine.
Stephanie, I was just wondering about the hiring list, and I see a half-time driver's ed. Did we lose our driver's ed teacher, or it's
No, I
just-
haven't. I need some driver's ed and health, and I have a teacher who's dual certified in driver's ed and health.
Yep.
And I haven't had any takers or any interest in my half-time health and PE, so if I can find someone to pick up some of the driver's ed, then she can teach health and PE. So
Okay.
it's basically just trying to, I need one or the other.
Okay. And I was wondering about the full-time Walden science teacher. Is that, I thought there was already a science teacher.
Reduced that when, a year ago, and we put a paraeducator in that role, and I'm
Okay.
taking the opportunity to rebuild that with a licensed science educator.
Okay. I was wondering maybe if it was because enrollment went up or something.
No, enrollment's pretty steady in that program.
Yep.
And the planning room positions, is that to replace Lee?
Lee in another retirement. John McGuire has been working as a behavioral interventionist through CSAC, and he's also retiring.
Sorry, ignorance here. What's the planning room?
That's RRC, Resource Response Center.
Yeah, okay.
Planning
Which
is
is an
just,
amazing-
for many people, that's a more familiar term than RRC, but
Yeah, they did a presentation a year or so ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And we like to focus on both positive and negative behaviors in there. So there's a focus on recognizing positive behavior and hoping to curb and change negative behavior.
Okay. Other questions? Go ahead.
So we have a presentation tonight.
Okay.
Are you finished, Tom?
No, I have just one
Yeah, go
quick
ahead.
question. I wonder if at some point we get a report about what students are planning for, what the graduating seniors are
Thank you
planning
for,
for next
I
year.
had that.
Yeah, we did it last year. We don't have it all put up, but we have a format that we
may have
did,
to wait
yes.
till
I
the
would like to
fall.
hear when,
Yes.
when
Yeah.
it went, and so I just didn't
Yeah,
know when
I
that
think we did
that
it
might
in
be.
June or July, I can't remember. Yeah.
If you could have it for the June, that'd be great.
Depends if guidance has it compiled.
I'm good, thanks.
So we have a presentation, actually more like a dialogue. We invited Michael Thomas to be with us so that he can speak to the board about his plans to be a Roland Fellow. So welcome, Michael.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Pretty awesome.
Say congratulations really to the whole school, because it's, when they award these, it is an individual proposal, but they very much look at the school as a whole. They look at the principal's support, the principal's vision as well. So it's very much a VUHS. And we're one of the few, I think, Rutland now has received 4. This is our 3rd. And I believe it was Harwood just got a 3rd. And those are the only schools in the state that have ever had this many before over the years. So I think we should be really proud of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the article in The Independent, probably that has a lot more than you want to hear, and it was a lot more than I wanted to hear, that's for sure. But I've been very involved in the work of our 2 previous Roland Fellows since I came here about 8 years ago, and much of that was PBGR work, and my proposal to a great extent built on their work. And when you talk about PBGR proficiency-based graduation requirements, people around the state, many people, I think, have a model, many schools have a model in mind that's sort of a checklist. Our students can do this, they can do this, they can do this, they can do this. And then the portfolio is basically a filing cabinet where those things go. And from the beginning, we've had a very different vision at VUHS of what this would look like. I think, I'd like to think it's a grander vision, a vision that's a bit more alive than that. We always imagined a school where students wouldn't just get checked off on what they know how to do, but that they would actually take learning from the classroom and apply it to their lives and to their communities. And that they would do projects that were real world projects, projects based on their interests and their passions. And we also, I think, always recognize, and we have some examples here, that we're very blessed with a student body that's very creative, very hardworking. And they're already doing amazing things outside of the classroom, whether it's working on putting together the yearbook, being representatives here, working in the fire department, starting their own agricultural business. I mean, we have students doing all sorts of things. And we always wanted the PBGR system to acknowledge and honor that sort of work as well, and to find ways to support students doing those things to get even more learning out of the experiences than they already do. And the question then becomes, where would that happen, and when would it happen, and how would it happen? How would we support all of that sort of student work? And some of our students already have some of those experiences. When they go to the Hannaford Center, they get a lot of project-based learning. If they go to the Walden program, they get that. But really, we've always envisioned every VUHS student having the opportunity to do what many educators would call project-based learning, driven by their own interests and applied to the real world. And that's really the essence of the proposal that I made. And my proposal came out of my own experience teaching a writer's workshop class where students pretty much choose their own topics and projects. But it also came out of several years of taking furniture design classes up at the Shelburne Arts Center. And that experience really solidified for me the power of a group of people doing their own projects with a coach wandering around, giving them mini lessons on the things they need to know to do that. And so what I proposed to the Roland Foundation was that we'd create a series of classes that I'm just tentatively calling workshop classes, where students would design their own work. There would be a small group of students supported by a teacher, and these classes would be broken up sometimes traditionally, like a humanities class, a STEM class, science, technology, math. But there might be other ones like community leadership. And so within those different workshops, you would have students, some not ready for really independent work, would be supported in learning how to do that. And others would actually be out in the community, and that class would be a kind of home base for them to keep coming back and figuring out, how can I learn academically in tandem with what I'm doing out there? And so that means it's going to be overlapping a lot with our community-based learning. And so what I'm going to be on sabbatical in the fall, and then I'm going to have my teaching load reduced by one class in the spring to continue to try to implement the work. And basically, I'm going to be doing a series of things. One, researching what are best practices for this sort of course. And that means visiting schools around New England. It might mean going to do some training programs myself. Some of the money will be used to bring teams of teachers from here to do visitations. But the idea is to come back with a set of ideas for what are the best ways to run this. Now, in Writer's Workshop, I have a pretty good idea how to do that. But we don't really do that in STEM, for example. What would that look like? What sort of materials and training would our teachers need? So I'm going to be scouting out professional development and also material resources that we could draw upon. I mean, I'm hoping to find other grants to leverage this $100,000 into other grants to support some of this. But and then so that's best practices. Next thing is more thinking about when will this happen, and so we have to think about what our schedule would start looking like. And we've already had a committee meeting around that, but I plan on spending a fair bit of time in the district talking with people about ideas about the schedule and doing some mock-ups. And my goal would be to, working with Stephanie, to have, by the end of the fall semester, maybe a couple of different ideas of what those courses might look like so that we could start designing it as a group. 'Cause it's really not up to me to do that. It should be a collaborative process. So there's best practices, there's scheduling, community-based learning. So I'm going to be working with the teachers now doing that. I'll have the time to be out in the community connecting with people, and I'm going to be forming an advisory council of some key people within the community that can help us place students in internships in a way that's, I think, larger, involving more students in more different places within the community than we have done before. So I hope by the end of the fall semester to have a list of institutions, individuals willing to help us out with that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So questions, comments? Yeah.
Bill Clark, the chairman out in Ferrisburg and also of our supervisory union board, has spent several years as a grant writer. That's not what he's doing right now, but he has expressed that if someone needs assistance in writing a grant, that he is a resource person. So I'm sure that he would be willing to help you with
Excellent.
That portion of it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Anybody else?
Can you give me some examples of some of the internships, the community-based learning internships that have been in place up to this point?
Well, I'm not really involved in that. I don't know, maybe you could speak, Stephanie or Jay, to some of, I'm not sure.
I mean, is it like the duo program
Some,
sort of?
yeah,
Or?
sometime, I know we have had students placed in the elementary schools.
We haven't had a real credit-bearing internship where a student would pursue, there was a student actually came to me 2 years ago who was lining up something at the Burton factory and was going to be doing some graphic design for them. And we started talking about how that might, be credit earning. It was a series of goal setting. So through an internship, it's mostly done through our community-based learning program. We've had some challenge courses, students that decide to take on something. They shape what it looks like, and then they earn credit and perhaps an elective credit. But this would be opening that up a little bit, and students would be earning credit in the content areas as opposed to elective credit.
And so would it be different? So I'm looking at the learner profile for the PBGRs. Would this be trying to expand the community member learning
Well,
profile?
I think it would be any of those. So, like for example, let's say there's a history workshop. So some students in the history workshop will be I could imagine a student with not much confidence in independent work might spend their time in our library and online researching a topic they're interested in and producing some sort of project out of that. Someone else might want to volunteer at with a historical society in the area or at the Rokeby Museum. And then working with them would come, and they would do that through the community-based learning program. But the history workshop would be their academic home base. So they might actually not spend much time there, but when it's time for them to get support in, say, producing their project based on what they've been doing at the Rokeby, then they would be coming back into that workshop and meeting with the teachers there. So it's really about, the educator language jargon would be scaffolding, having a course that can support students at almost any level. And we have some, and with my writer's workshop, I have students can enroll in it as advanced writer's workshop, in which they're pretty much independent. And I had a student, just to give you another idea, a student in the fall who was trying to figure out what his major was going to be. And he was interested in engineering and geology. And so we ended up putting together an idea. He had been working at Button Bay State Park over the summer. And so he ended up researching, collaborating with Mr. Powers, science teacher. He and I collaborated to learn about the geology of Button Bay. And then he wrote up, from the scientific literature, he wrote up a pamphlet that could be given to visitors to the park. So he had to translate the technical information into everyday language for visitors who would come to the park, and then he just laid it out. And they actually have some interest in using this actual pamphlet that they did, or a version of it. And so he did that in my writer's workshop. And so that's the kind of thing that the more advanced students would be coming up with a project on their own, and then whatever support they needed, to whatever degree, they could be back in that classroom getting that help and that support with it.
Is there a sense that this, you mentioned professional development. This strikes me as being something that could reasonably become a real challenge for the teachers, just because they've got to go outside what their, curricular knowledge is.
And that's, I think, the bulk of the money. The certain amount of it is spent to cover for my long-term sub while I'm on sabbatical, but the bulk of it is going to be, I think, professional development. So we're talking probably a couple of years before anything like this can get in place, and especially because it probably involves schedule changes, which takes time to put in place. But my sense of it, and again, it's not just me, but my sense of it is that most of this would go towards getting teachers into training workshops or whatever it is that they identify as the needs they have to implement something like this.
Act 77 actually says that we need to provide opportunities for students to learn outside of the school building, but under the supervision of licensed teachers in the content areas. So, like I said earlier, we allow students to earn elective credit through CBL, but they're not necessarily earning English credit, science credit, social studies credit in those areas. And we also have to keep the idea in our head that Act 77 also says that students will be graduating in a proficiency-based learning environment. So the idea of credits can actually go away, but credits are a convenient structure to track progress towards meeting those standards. So I'm not going to tell you that the English credit is going to go away. It just won't be aligned to that Carnegie unit of 60 hours or 100 hours seat time, whatever measure. So when I say credit, I'm thinking as a measure of progress rather than just the time a student spent sitting in a classroom. Yeah. And, every one of these disciplines has a set of standards that students are supposed to be learning within. So I think that taking what we're good at, which is delivering instruction in a classroom setting, and moving towards something that's a little unfamiliar to all of us, which is allowing students to determine how they're going to show evidence of meeting these standards and what that looks like. What does proficiency in these standards look like? The PBGRs are essentially a set of standards for transferable skills.
I should probably just mention, too, that the Writer's Workshop is certainly not the only class where some of this happens. Like the art department historically has had I believe they call it the portfolio class, where students develop an independent art portfolio, and that's what gets a number of them into art school or design school afterwards. It's that same idea, and we've had personal fitness, where students design their own fitness program. That's another example of a workshop class where the student is driving, they set the goals, and they drive it, supported by a coach teacher. No, in fact, I'm open to all, I mean, I have a few ideas, but I'm open to any sorts of suggestions. That's one of the things, we're at our first retreat with the Roland Foundation over Thursday and Friday, and we've just started the planning process. Stephanie and I met for, Friday morning to really start to initiate that. So that's one of my tasks for the summer, is to set up that list.
Through our work with the League of Innovative Schools, we have a network, and there's actually a directory of schools organized by strengths that way. So it's a matter of emailing them and saying, could you give me some suggestions of schools in the League region that, are strong in personalized workshop type learning, or however we characterize it.
And one of the things that's interesting is that very few schools try to do it universally. So, I mean, we are taking on a bit of a challenge. In other words, there are lots of schools in the state that have a special program that you can sign up for to do this. But we've said from the beginning that we really think every student should have at least one or two experiences like this, and that's what we're trying to do with this proposal.
Big systems change.
Yeah. Any other ones, questions? Awesome, thank you.
Congratulations, Michael, again.
Really,
That's great.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for lots more news, I guess, over the next few years.
So, Tanya. Anybody got any questions on Tanya's report?
Board still remains in good shape, heading into the end of the school year.
So I had a question, came out of the Finance Committee. There was a check that we saw that came out of the school activities account, and the conversation went something like, we didn't think those were around anymore. Can you update us on what's going on with the student activity accounts?
You want to take this, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. We still have student activities account. It's all one account, basically, tracked.
We collapse them. We don't have
yeah.
separate, we don't
They're
have
just-
10 separate ones.
Right, so I think there used to be 3 checking accounts or
Right.
something, so, but we track them because every activity has need for funds that way. So, I don't know what check you're referencing, but.
It was a check for food.
Capstone related, I think.
Oh,
Just a
yeah.
reimbursement for,
That was reimbursement, I believe, for Jay for buying all of the refreshments for the capstone. Oh. Maybe not you, Jay.
No, it wasn't me,
But,
Yeah. They were refreshments that were available at capstone.
right.
Probably out of the principal's
Principal's
fund, yeah.
So,
So, Tanya, you must keep a ledger or something of where each student activity, what used to be each account, each has its own ledger?
They're
Is that
handled
how-
within the schools through the ADS program.
Oh, they are, you've got them separated in the ADS program? Awesome. Okay. And work on POs the same way? No. Okay. And, well, I can ask you that other one later. Anybody else have any questions for Tanya? Did everybody see that the fund balance deficit increased by a little bit more, well, a little bit less than $100,000. And that was due to every year we have to true up, essentially. Because we have paras that work in with regular kids and not special ed kids. And we have to go back through their timesheets and calculate how much time they did with regular kids, that's a terrible.
It is,
you know,
yeah.
A non-special ed child. Student, thank you. Non-special ed student versus a special ed student. And then they charge back the difference in their salary and benefits to the school. So, does that make sense? So you have a special educator working with 2 students, one is special ed, one is non-special ed. She keeps a timesheet. At the end of the year, someone goes through all of them.
Kara calculates them.
Kara calculates it. And last year, it was a $98,000 charge back, and this year it's $101. So it's relatively consistent with last year's anyway.
So then why don't we just have them fill out the time at the beginning separated? Why do we have to go back and actually calculate it? Why isn't it just written out in the first place?
It's not the same every year per person. It's whoever's fulfilling that role at the time. So, I mean, yes, it comes in within, the same percentage every year, but it could be different employees doing that work.
Yeah, but I'm saying when I fill out my timesheet, and it's like, okay, so I spent 4 hours of the 7 hours that I'm here during the day with, special ed kids and 4 without, or, doesn't work that way?
No.
It's also variable. I mean, a student might be moved into a special group to get some support in November and then move out in January. So it's a variable, flexible system. It allows us to meet the needs of students.
It's also not done every week, so that the time studies
The
happen.
time studies happen twice a year.
Yeah. So
And it's
you
based
take a
on that.
snapshot during those times.
So it's not actual hours of
Right.
everybody is working.
Oh, I
It's a
see.
snapshot in time.
Okay. So you take a random sample.
Yes. Kara sets the week,
Okay.
and it's typically done in October and then in February or March, I think. And then those two are averaged out, and then she calculates the bill backs.
May not be able to, you said it was 98 last year, it's 101. Like, over 5 years, has it been fairly consistent?
We are
or is
just,
this fairly
we're just
recent?
recently getting our arms around some
Got it.
consistency, to
Got
be
it.
honest with you.
Yeah, right, okay.
This is the
That's
second
totally fair.
time that the high school has actually experienced this.
So in the
Situation.
future, we won't have to do this, will we? Because
But-
it'll all be in the same place.
But also remember
But
that.
it will be the difference between special ed and regular ed, so you'll see some adjustments in the line.
Right, but-
It'll be easier, I think, because we'll be one budget
Yeah,
to accommodate for it.
right. It won't change the end number is what I'm getting at.
Did you have something more, Tanya?
No.
And the fuel savings went down a little bit, looks like.
Yeah, they had to get more gallons than they expected because of the colder temperatures.
Yeah.
We're still running the boilers.
Past.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Me too.
Supposed to be in the 30s tonight.
Yeah.
30s.
I had snow on Middlebury Mountain this morning when I came over.
You had snow?
There's a freeze warning for tonight.
Okay. Thanks so much, Tanya. This is really a great report. It's been very consistent and well explained. Thank you. And audit presentation.
Lori, we don't have the auditors here. After the A&W meeting, I did communicate with Mr. Bradley and reminded him that we would have individual board meetings in the month of May, and we have not heard.
Such a surprise. I'm just blown away by that information.
Did
That,
he say why he didn't come to the,
He ignored my question totally and wanted to know about the contract.
interesting. It's so bizarre.
I hope that this is an addendum to the report to the professional board.
We're going to deal with that at the supervisory union board level,
Okay.
because Bill will have to
It's-
take care of that.
Because he's worried about his contract, and he's ignoring the requirements of it. Where does this guy come from? No place logical.
Yeah, I agree.
How's he in business?
Go ahead.
Question.
Yes.
Has he been notified of failure to comply with his contract?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
And he did not like it.
Did he acknowledge it?
No, he's got a different story, pretty much.
We're moving on, I trust.
We are.
We are.
We hired a new one, right?
Yes, we
did.
did.
Yeah,
and he has
congratulations,
accepted.
Tanya. They did accept?
And they will be here the 20th, 21st, and 22nd of June to start the pre-audit stuff.
And they answer their email.
Yes.
And phone
They
calls.
also answer their cell phones every time I call, so.
This is a
The
audit
main
firm
company.
that Tanya's worked with before and loves them. Really great to work with. Thank you. Other questions? It would be fine with me, and unless anybody else has, if you want to go, Tanya.
I'm going to leave after the finance committee.
Okay. Facilities Committee.
Tom?
I was hoping Tanya had it all written down.
Did you see this?
I saw all the fingers pointing.
She's really in charge, you know.
Well, no, Jeff is really in charge, and he wasn't there.
Jeff is
and
the chair,
Stephanie wasn't there at the meeting either. So Jeff kind of gave us an idea of what we need to accomplish in the meeting last Friday.
Okay.
So we're still in the process of working on the RFP for the energy performance contracting services. And we have pretty much the proposal ready to go now that Jeff has changed some things that he wanted to put in there or take out or reword. So the timeline right now is I'm going to be issuing the RFP on May 13th. We have tentatively scheduled, in there, we will have the site visit mandatory for June 3rd at 2 p.m. And I believe that Tom is going to be with Mr. Worley, going through the building with contractors.
Thank you, Tom.
The proposals are due back to us for a bid opening on July 7th. And then from there, it gets a little wonky because the board actually has to interview contractors, the finalists, after, you know, depending on how many we get. The board has to do that during a board meeting.
Oh.
Yeah.
We talked about a special board meeting.
But we may have to have a special board
Yeah,
meeting, you know.
I'm not opposed to
So
that.
from July 7th on, we haven't really discussed a timeline.
Okay.
There's no way that we could make this more complicated?
Other than starting it right before summer break and you guys don't have board meetings in July. That's really the only hang-up right here. And so then the board actually has to negotiate the contract, and then the board has to approve and get signatures and execute the contract. And we were thinking sometime in September, and then they have to, the one that you contract with needs to come in October and give their audit report of the facility.
When is a hammer going to be lifted?
Not this year.
Obviously
Or
not.
sometime after that.
Yeah, you know, at this point right now, I mean, this is really a year-long process to actually, from when you start to where they can actually start working on things.
But what is the requirement that the board has to interview the contractors? This is not an efficient way to do things.
Right.
You take and you designate an individual or two to do this, because that way they can have an efficient communication with these people. You don't want some contractor or 5 contractors lined up to sit here and have the group of us all throw questions at them. That isn't efficient.
This is just, you know, how Rutland did it, and, I mean, it can be changed, but Jeff wanted the same practices to be handled, so that'll have to be discussed, like I said, but those are, you know, down the road. We gotta get through July 7th first, and there's a lot of work to be done before then.
Yeah.
We do
on
not
my
have a
part.
policy, at least the high school does not have a policy which requires the board to okay contracts, except for using capital funds. When the capital funds are used, we must okay the expenditures, but as far as the contracts are concerned,
And
I understand we don't have to do anything.
And the way this supposedly works is that the contractors are gonna front the money?
They fund all changes that they suggest that will guarantee energy savings.
Right?
And the energy savings is what pays them.
So
So there's really no money out of our pocket.
that's a great deal. Being as how it's being so good to us, we ought to make it as easy as possible for them and not give them a mess of hassle in the process of doing this.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure these contractors are used to it, but
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, Joanne suggested when I was giving her a recap that you could just make a subcommittee and have them on a different day or
Yes,
something.
definitely.
So they're not overwhelmed with 9, 10 people sitting in front of them.
Not to change the subject in mid-discussion.
But you are.
What can I say? It's why you love me.
Yes, that's so true, George.
We had a proposal going on with getting energy from solar. We're paying $100,000 a year for electricity. I understand why the other proposal fell through, but is the Facilities Committee given any thought to a solar array?
No.
Is there some reason why not?
No. Other than the focus has been on getting this energy audit done
Yep.
and then getting suggestions from there.
George, anything we do in terms of facilities, as you can see, is a big deal and very time-consuming, and it pulls people away from their day-to-day stuff. It is important for us to get back in the conversation around solar energy because it has the potential of saving a lot of money in terms of our electricity. That's something that we need to do. Let's get this done, because I'm also thinking this conversation should lead to all buildings in our system with the performance contract. We're not there yet. We're kind of trying to get caught up.
Okay.
But that is definitely on the horizon.
But one thing that we need to consider is that the federal tax credits were extended for the solar.
Yep.
And if we are going to do it, we need to get on board before they expire again, because we know the way Congress operates, there's no guarantee that they'll extend them
Continue.
again.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion about the facilities committee? All right. Richard, Hannaford Career Center.
Last month, they had the Honor Society for the Tech Center ceremony, and so that was definitely interesting to attend, and seeing some of the students from here getting their awards for that situation. Other than that, it's working with the Middlebury. There's been some banter back and forth with Middlebury School with the Tech Center on activities between the two. So that's been the major part of the thing. And I have my meeting for this month, Wednesday. So that's all I have.
Well, do you want to give a brief overview about what that discussion is with Middlebury, or is that not?
It's about storing things. They just recently, the Tech Center is now being run by the Tech College, the computer aspect, and the TV station that used to be there is being run by them. And when it's not being used, how it's open to be used by the people from the Tech Center and the community. How is that being arranged? And the banter is a back and forth on that, and who's going to run it, and the fact that of having they had to hire they had to hire security for the evening classes. Is that security going to extend to that room also? That kind of stuff, and then there's some paperwork storage that the city is bantering with the Tech Center.
Okay.
So, that's it.
Any questions for Richard? Finance Committee. So we met today and went over bills. I want to say this is really, really good news. This is the second month in a row we did not pay interest on our credit card, and I really, really thank you very much for, that's been sort of, it's so little, but it's really been in our craw, and I was thrilled to see that, so thank you very much. We had a couple of reimbursements for the STEAM. You guys probably know lots of teachers buy stuff out of their own pocket and stock their rooms with it. And two of the teachers had, well, one was almost $2,000 and the other was $1,500 worth of their own supplies and other equipment that were damaged in the steam, and we reimbursed them. Now, I wanted to ask, though, how does that handle with the insurance? Is that going to be reimbursed by the insurance? Okay.
Yeah, they were submitted to the insurance company.
Okay,
And they
great.
were,
They were okay?
everything got approved that
Great.
was submitted.
Great.
We're just
That's great.
waiting for checks to continually come in.
All right. And
I just like to say that probably doesn't come close to reimbursing them for what they paid for and provided and, moved into their classrooms over the years. So it's just
Not
what
even
they-
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teaching is an amazing thing. As well, when looking at the budget actual, we've got $81,500 of insurance-covered repairs. And according to this, looks like we've received 167, it's under the revenue summary, insurance claims. Do you expect that we'll be getting all the 181,500? Do we have a deductible?
There's a couple of insurance claims going on right now.
Oh, okay.
So, really, I've only been tracking the, steam and steam damage ones.
Okay.
And so I'm expecting around 167 worth of reimbursement for the steam damage.
Okay.
But I haven't got the final reports on the other two yet, so.
So the other two is the total of the 13,000 or thereabouts?
Yeah.
Okay. But you do expect they'll be reimbursed?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we didn't have a deductible for the steam. Did we have a deductible?
Yeah.
Do you know what,
It's
do you
already-
remember? Do you remember how much it was?
5 or 10,000, something like that.
Okay.
That was a year ago last November.
Yeah.
It's.
So it's still,
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm not.
Yeah,
they don't-
yeah.
I just wondered. I
I'm
just wondered.
surprised I'm still hearing that. But it takes a long time.
Takes a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Okay. Did you have anything to offer, George, about finance committee?
Yeah, we didn't have to send all that money to the district office, and we'd be in great shape.
You get good service, though.
Well, I don't know. 400,000 worth?
Yeah, George is referring to $404,000 of payment that we made to the supervisory union. 303 of it was related to the monthly contribution that we're required to make to the supervisory union so that they can stay afloat. That's set at the beginning of each year. And then the other 100,000 is the payback for the paraprofessionals who are using teaching non-special ed kids.
I will say that the service that we get from the district office has improved tremendously over the past 2 years.
Thank you, George. I
Thank you for the
appreciate that.
compliment, George.
Okay.
Feel the warm fuzzies.
Element.
Yeah.
All right, anything from anybody on the board?
When I walk into the district office, I say, "Trouble," and everybody responds, "Oh, what, me?"
Welcome, Greg. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm sure you mean that from the bottom of your heart.
I do.
All right. So, action items. Approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Sure.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed, thank you. Approval of bills and director's orders. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we pay bills and directors' orders in the amount of $510,121.49.
Second?
Second.
thank you. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I would like to abstain from those votes, given my proximity to the checks.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Greg. All right, noted. Thank you. I take it that will be for the rest of your term?
I believe so.
Okay.
Unless one of them runs out before the other one. Then we'll revisit this.
No, we're going to keep you as long as we can. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, say aye. Opposed? An abstention.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good thing I got that.
Yeah. Approval of easement.
So I have some update about the easement. I did look into a question that was raised at the last meeting and spoke to our attorney, and I also spoke to Mel today, and he has shared this language with Jim Ouellette, who is the author of the deed. And if the board would consider the addition of this language, I think we would be in good shape. And the language should be included. Vergennes Union High School and Vergennes Union Elementary School will grant the requested easement to the city on the explicit condition that, one, the city bears responsibility for procuring all government permits, licenses, and approvals necessary for the construction, maintenance, and operation of the sewer line. Number two, the city shall be solely responsible for operating, maintain, and repairing the sewer line in conformance with all applicable state and federal water quality, wetland protection, and surface water control regulations and orders. And three, the school district's signature on any permit or license application shall not be construed as an assumption, any liability by the school district. And that would cover the concerns that were laid out.
Great.
With that addition, I would move that we approve the easement.
Are we?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Is this something that needs to be signed?
The motion should read that you would authorize the superintendent to sign the agreement with the inclusion of the language that was just read.
Okay.
So amended.
Great. You're amending, and we don't need to vote on the amendment.
My second needs to agree.
I agree.
You agree with it?
I'm comfortable with that, good with that. That's
Okay.
what I thought, but you were going to talk, and I was just going to let you.
Oh,
do your
thank
thing.
you. Thank
Got
you.
that, Glory?
Yes, good, thank you. Any further discussion? Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I'm glad we did.
Appreciate it.
I think it was an important addition.
Yeah, yeah.
Is, a question though, is the elementary board on board with this?
Next Monday, they will be on board with this.
Right.
Okay. Any other?
All in favor?
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mel will be very happy, thank you.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. Resignations and hiring recommendations?
So we have no hiring recommendations tonight because we're still in process. We are finishing some of the processes up. We will have some names for you next month, and as you could see from the superintendent's report, who is retiring.
Great.
Or leaving.
Do you have separate committees for every hire, or I see your hiring procedures, like how's that working? Yeah, separate.
Stephanie names the individuals that will represent the positions to be on that particular, depending on the position, the content area.
Yeah. You do that for the halftime positions too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When do you hope to have these finished? Yesterday.
Yeah.
When do you reasonably hope to have?
We're finishing up the choral interviews tomorrow. As I said, I have I reposted the PE position, took off the health piece, so to see if, but there's like 15 PE positions posted in the area, so I don't know whether there's just too many openings and not enough candidates, or at halftime. I've got one person interested in the driver's ed that I hope to interview next week. We're starting the interviews for RRC, so it's really time consuming.
The evaluations.
Yeah, yeah. But, and yet for the social studies, the 1-year replacement for the social studies position, which isn't even on here, we have 38 candidates in School Spring that we have to weed through, so.
Wow. Wow.
Which is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Anybody else? Resignations and hiring recommendations. I did want to just give the board a quick shout out that in this packet is a list of graduation events. You guys, I'm going to be going to the Walden graduation on the 6th, and I will also be at the graduation and giving hugs.
And diplomas.
You're going to do, well, kind of. You did the diplomas.
Okay.
We gave hugs.
That's right.
We were right there supporting every minute
Yes.
and stuff. So, anyway, graduation's really fun. Great thing to watch.
I think the Career Center graduation is important to attend as well. They rotate, so it's at Mount Abe this year. Lots of good events to go to.
The diversified occupations, is that what you were referring
No,
to, the
the-
Hanford?
The Hannaford Career Center is Thursday.
Oh, here it is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was missing that. Will you go to that, Richard?
I'll be there.
Okay.
I am curious as to how come graduation is in the gym instead of the auditorium?
Our graduation, because the gym holds more than the auditorium.
Okay.
The auditorium, I think we have 570 is the max capacity. And with seats on the ground and in the bleachers, I think we can hold upwards of about 1,000 people.
Okay.
How many? 1,500.
Wow. Wow.
And also, George, from going to graduation and knowing what it's going to be like, it gets hot, even in the gym. I can't imagine what it would be like on stage.
I graduated off the stage.
Did you really?
They had candles then too, still.
I will have to admit that
Didn't you see that
one of the
post
members
back
of the
there?
class keeled over, but, I mean, that's a hazard of the
Hopefully
game.
there won't be any of that this year.
Yes, that's hope.
It's a graduation or school concert, not somebody fainting.
Yeah, right. Is anybody interested in going to the diversified occupations graduation at the Career Center? It's on Tuesday the 7th, 5:30. I knew some kids in the DO program last year, and it was awesome. So if anybody's interested, that'd be great to have the board represented there, if you can make it. And I think that's it. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.